Hey, what's up, guys? This is JC. I'm an 18 Charlie, and this is the 18 Charlie Kit Shakedown. So an 18 Charlie is a Special Forces engineer sergeant. We're in charge of the demo, all deconstruction type methods, whether it be breaching, blowing bridges, doing whatever else we need to do to have effects on our environment. Then we also do construction as well. We're kind of coined the handyman of the team. Typically, guys who work with their hands a lot in their everyday lives, they typically are drawn to the 18 Charlie role. You may not just be building things out of wood and on deployment. It may be somebody's AC went out, and now all of a sudden you're the SME on that. So typically we order all the items for the ODA and just make sure everybody has what they need for the mission at hand, and then continuing to inventory our items, whether it be TPE or organic SI that we came into country with. So we have to stay on top of that the entire time to make sure that we have everything we brought and we didn't lose anything that could be important to hire or the enemy. Starting with the helmet, I've got just the standard ops core. I added the Enforce. It's actually a rifle light. I enjoy this for any time we're doing nighttime operations, or if I have to do any type of exterior door breaches. This also has IR capability. It's super bright and it lights up the entire area that I need to see, especially working with explosives. That can be very important. My comm system, I rock just the normal Castle comms. That's what we've gone to. We switch from those, or from the Peltors to the Castle comms. Of course, my nods mount, and I didn't put a cover on my helmet specifically for attaching strips of electrical tape for breaching purposes and tying in. I like to have a nice smooth surface in order to put that tape on, so that way I have no issues getting it off or losing it during a movement to an objective. Then we got our OTV kit by Spiritus. I've got my mag pouch up front, Juggernaut mount for my ATAC. I chose to mount that on the mag pouch piece because with multiple kits, I can switch this piece out without taking this off and go from kit to kit, and it's not right up in my face, so I can actually get a better perspective of what I'm looking at. Up above, I just have a normal admin pouch. With this pouch, I typically have our team's stay go list, so I'll just have a quick inventory sheet before we make movement to leave, and also when we return, so that way I have a quick reference guide of do we have all of our SI and everything like that that we need to get back home with. Down below, I have the brunch box. Pretty much use this for a lot of my demo purposes. Typically, I'll have a set of pliers and knife and all that, multi-tool. And I keep that inside of a Velcro actual Spiritus magazine pouch for a pistol. It fits nice. It keeps it up on the front and keeps it from flopping around. Nice and slim. I always keep a notepad in here right in the rain, just because typically when you're doing random inventories or you need to jot down some quick math for charge construction, it's good to always have something on you to jot some numbers down. And then I keep our handy dandy 18 Charlie handbook. Pretty much every 18 Charlie, each class builds their own handbooks, and it just has a quick reference guide for charge construction and some math equations to get us through. In the front, I like to keep my electrical tape in the front pouch. Unless I'm using it a bunch, I'll have it off a carabiner hanging out front so I can just spool it off. I found that keeping it inside the pouch keeps the outsides from getting dirty, messed up, and then it ends up dry rotting and tearing, all funky, and it just becomes a pain, especially when you really need it. You need it to be in pristine condition. On the front here, I typically run IDCs if we're going through any type of structure where we're going to have to blow doors. I like to keep my IDCs up front. And then I'll keep my priming stuff up here on my kit or on the back, and I'll go over that shortly. On the side here, I've got another Spiritus pouch. In here, I always keep a couple zip ties Velcroed in, so it's quick access. They loop around and I can just grab the head of one and snag it right out. And I keep a set of M2 crimpers as well, just in case I need to prime something while outside the wire. In here, I just have some black latex gloves in case we come across an unknown substance. I'm not an EOD guy, but I do sometimes have to deal with HME, and it's always good to stay safe with some of that. You don't want to get that stuff on your hands. Or if you're doing any type of medical stuff, helping out the 18 Deltas, it's good to have a set of gloves on you. Up top, I keep a kind of improvised shotgun retention. I keep a locking carabiner on it, so that way once I've got it locked on, I just spool it up and it's not going anywhere. I kind of throw these together. I tie them up in a knot and hook it to the back panel way in the back behind my, or on the webbing behind my back panel. Being out in the sun and in different environments, they degrade no matter what brand you use typically. So I'm just running through them left and right. It's pretty much a new one each trip at least. Then on the back side, I've got this back panel. Typically I'll have a fruit roll-up charge or a flex linear on the back. This is for exterior door breaching. I'll typically have my 3 or 4 man rip this out of my pouch before we get to the objective, and then I'll have that on my person. I like to keep typically 2 flashbangs in this pouch as well. And same thing, the guy behind me in the stack can pull that, hand it to me if I'm the 2 man, and actually throw that into the room. This back pouch, I leave pretty empty for the time being. As a ODA member, each time you enter a new country or have a different mission set, things change so vastly that it's good to have a simplistic setup to where you can manipulate your loadout depending on the environment you're in. Right now, I just have like a throw line in here. I would typically keep some mock Zen can charges or dip can charges, stuff like that, just in order to handle those smaller situations and smaller doors. Here I have the spud pouch. If we're mounted, I'll carry a thermal just in case it's needed. If not, I'll carry a smoke. Of course, I have the radio pouch, and I have a secondary pouch over here as well. I typically run one radio, but like I said, with the ever-changing environment, I like to be able to have the affordability to switch either side, depending on how my kit's set up. With the back panel, though, what I really like is how it opens up, and I can actually use this interior space, unsnapping these bottom pieces, and that bottom flap falls out. So here I can keep my breaching tools, running a hooligan or a sledge, anything like that. I can slip that right in my backpack, back slot piece. And then I don't have this big PVC pipe is what typically I used to run, and it becomes cumbersome. And when you're doing mounted operations, it's just a pain sitting in those vehicles with something that rigid on your back. I also like to use, if I'm using a bifold or trifold exterior charge, something like that that's more rigid, I slide that right here in the back panel. I'm hands-free until I need to use it. That way I can just pull it out, just like Braveheart and a sword. Super cool, and it always makes you feel awesome right before you get on target. Because I'm on a mountain team, it makes it super important to have everything exactly where you want it and keep things not loose. You don't want things batting around, especially if you're dropped off in an area where you're going to be hiking a bunch and you're going to be prone to all kinds of underbrush as you go up mountains or in the cold environment. You just want to have everything nice and tight. So I really enjoyed this back piece for that. And then I've also been able to stuff rope into this back panel if I needed to, at least a throw rope in order to get up through some of the tougher areas. If it's a denied area and we really need to rock our kits during movement, it's just been very beneficial for that. All right, so with the Spiritus OTB, I chose this kit, one, because it's super breathable. Typically, we get put into areas that may be cold during the evenings, but during the heat of the day, it gets super hot. It also has this nice pocket right behind the front plates. I like to throw a map in there, or even my inventory slide, whatever I need, my stay go list. It keeps it out of the way. I can get to it if I need it, but it's not out here on the outside of my kit to where it takes up space from other things that are more valuable. So for my magazines, I have 3 on the front of my kit. I typically keep 2 to 3 on my pistol belt. Right now I'm rocking 2. This is actually my initial mag. I used to have a happy mag over here on the side of my kit, but our last few operations were vehicle mounted. Getting in and out of these vehicles with all this extra cumbersome kit, it's just become a hassle. So it's not that I rock less ammunition, unless I'm going on a foot movement, then I can change that as well and use the tack-on kit to have kind of doubled up in the front for my magazines, or add some more to the side. But I've pretty much used all the real estate that I would need on my pistol belt. I still have plenty of options on my kit, but being close to a vehicle with a Crow system, I'm typically not going to be rocking the rifle unless I'm actually doing a foot movement. So like I said before, your kits change on your environment. And right now, this is more set up for a mounted environment. We're going to be moving a lot in armored vehicles and unarmored vehicles, light skins. So whenever we're running with those, I typically run a lighter kit on ammunition, because I'm going to be using a lot more with my demo and stuff like that I'm not going to have if I'm too far off from the vehicle. So having the Overwatch with the Crow system helps out a bunch, and that's where I'm going to be fighting my way back to. Then for my pistol belt, I have a pretty simple setup here as well. This is a G code. I like their product, but I'm probably going to switch it up here soon. I'm still playing around with some stuff. I typically keep 2 pistol mags up front, and then I'll keep 2 rifle mags right behind that. And then I also have just a standard issue dump pouch, nothing crazy in there. I always keep my gloves. But typically as soon as we leave the wire, I have those on anyways. Then I have the small spud pouch as well. We like to run grenades on our team. It's always good to have that. So we'll throw that in there. And then I've got the Safariland holster. I like to run a leg strap. This is kind of an old, used and abused leg strap, but it does what it needs to. And it's nice anytime you're doing a failure drill or actually on target and you need to transition. You don't want to have any trouble getting that pistol out of there. And without the leg strap, I've noticed it's at least floppy a little bit for me. So it keeps that retention a little bit better, and I can get it out a little bit faster and smoother. All right, guys, that was my kit shakedown for an 18 Charlie. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time.